Okay, so with the release of the new Star Wars trailers, I guess you were expecting some kind of reaction video, weren't you? Well,
Why? Why? Why?
anyway, one of the most controversial aspects of the new film is that the Holy Church of Star Wars has decanonized the entire expanded universe. You know, the shitty fan fiction that sucks anyway. If you're not familiar with the expanded universe, here are some highlights. They cloned the Emperor, and Luke willfully fell to the dark side in order to defeat him. Somehow. Han Solo kidnapped Princess Leia against her will in an attempt to show his love and marry her. Porkins was declared to be one of the greatest X-Wing pilots of all time. Boba Fett went around fellatiating himself as the greatest bounty hunter ever. They wrote stuff about the prequels. It just blows my mind they found them interesting enough to do that. And one of my personal favorites, Han and Leia's son turned to the dark side and has to be killed by his sister. Because kids like stuff like that. Yes, there were things like the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy, which I'll get to, in today's little gem called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I will say, I like the title. It reminds me of an old-school science fiction novel, like something Heinlein or Clarke or whoever might have written. The thing that makes this book special is that it was the first expanded universe tale, coming out only about a year after the first movie. There are differing reports that this was the initial idea for a sequel, though Lucas claims it was just a little story he came up with. Of course, Lucas didn't write it. A man by the name of Alan Dean Foster did, who would go on to write many movie tie-ins and various other fanfics. I actually kind of feel bad for the guy. He wrote the novelization of the original film, which Lucas took full credit for. What an asshole! Foster was a proto-Kevin J. Anderson, you might say. Except he could actually, write. But anyway, what is the story actually about? Luke and Leia crash into a jungle planet where they're trying to recruit people for the Rebel Alliance. They realize the Imperials have a base set up there and are trying to sneak around, avoiding detection and meeting some helpful friends along the way. They eventually learn of a powerful crystal in a cave which is strong with the Force. This is the titular Mind's Eye, and they at first find a splinter of it. Yeah, I shit you not. Of course, racing them to the cave is the one, the only, Darth Vader. At the end, they have a fight with the Sith Lord, and Luke even chops his robotic arm off. There were also two kinda proto-Ewok creatures, but less lame. Still, it's satisfying when Vader mercilessly kills them. So, the story's okay. It really just reads like generic Star Wars fan fiction. There's a thing that relates to the Force that the main characters want, and Vader appears because he's awesome. Han Solo and Chewbacca don't even appear. They aren't even mentioned by name. Luke just says something about a pirate and a smuggler I know. There's some monsters thrown in, which are kinda cool because they seem to have influenced creatures that would appear in later films. Of course, the big thing about this is the question, was this the original sequel to Star Wars? Well, yeah, this was the original proposal for Star Wars if it wasn't a big enough hit to warrant a big-budget sequel like everyone thought it was going to be. And they were wrong! I gotta say, as a sequel, it sucks. Foster deliberately made the story small and quiet so they would be able to save money on the sequel while staying true to the book for some reason. They only visit one planet, there's no space battles, there's a couple of monsters, and Darth Vader is just barely in it. Not to mention, they don't have the famous twist of Vader being Luke's father, Leia being his sister, or any of the other famous Star Wars stuff. There's even some sexual tension between them, hinting at them getting together on some future date. Some skeptics use this as evidence that Lucas didn't plan these twists from the beginning, like he claims, and that he made the story up as he went along. He responds by saying that these were indications that he was going to go there, like Luke and Leia having those feelings for each other, but not recognizing them at first. Somehow. There's also some weird inconsistencies with the first movie, like Darth Vader having a blue lightsaber. What the hell? The story was also adapted as a Dark Horse comic book in the 90s, when Star Wars fanfare was booming. Before the dark times. Before the money grabbing. Overall, the book's okay. It certainly reminds me of later expanded universe tales, how the plot is ultimately inconsequential and doesn't really tie into anything. But if you want to look back at a time when one of your favorite movies was just a simple space adventure that was ruling the world, then make the jump to light speed to enter the Splinter of the Mind's Eye.